and welcome to Review Reviews, back with another Hong Kong content review, continuing on with the Johnnie To goodness with Fulltime Killer. Yes. Oh man, just even thinking about this film makes me laugh. This film was released in 2001. I'll go straight into this one. Directed by Johnnie To, co-directed also from the same director as Reno Karma, Mad Detective, Wa Ka Fai, I believe his name is. Usually a kind of a collaborator, kind of long-time collaborator. Does a lot of writing duties for Johnnie To, and they collaborate on films from time to time, and they've done a few films co-directed together. And being the fact that Johnnie To did 3 films, including this one, during 2001, it definitely makes sense. He kind of likes to delegate some of the kind of directing duties between him and this other director. And I always get a little bit worried sometimes, as mentioned in previous reviews, because usually if it's not a full Johnnie To film, I get a bit like, oh, does this one not deserve his full attention? What's going on there? So I get a little bit concerned. But this one, it's pretty fun, pretty goddamn fun. This is a very surprising one. It's borderline guilty pleasure in a weird way. Put into perspective, I want to put this one into perspective compared to some of the other ones. Fulltime Killer was released in 2001. During the same year, he did Love on Diet, which is another Andy Lau film based about obesity, and it's a comedy about that. I haven't seen the film, but he did a straight comedy during the same year. He also did everyone's favourite and critically acclaimed, just joking, Running Out of Time 2 in the same year. Which, if you watch my review on that, you know my feelings on it, which is probably my weakest of Johnnie To's films at this current point. But even then, it's still quite unintentionally funny. I don't know if it's meant to be a comedy. I have questions if I ever speak to Johnnie To on that one. But this one seems to be a bit in the middle. It seems to be a bit of the best of both worlds. Essentially, we have 2 hitmen, professional hitman, who have different ideals on how they go about their kind of hits. We have Andy Lau's character on the one hand, which is absolutely phenomenal in this film. He is having the time of his life. I've seen Andy Lau in a lot of movies up to this point, and he has never been more fun than he has been in this film. He is chewing the scenery, he's having a blast, he's having so much fun playing this character. Pretty much most of the cast and crew, actually, you can tell while just having so much fun making it. Such an oddball kind of, love letter to kind of action cinema, but I'll dive into that more in a minute. But his character is basically a lover of kind of movies, and he references lots and lots of films in the film, very meta in that regard as well. Lots of tribute to kind of like The Matrix, Point Break. We have a little bit of Die Hard in there as well. There's all sorts of references to many kind of films, and he is just enjoying what he does. He's a professional here, man, that works for cheap, and he likes toying and messing with people, and he is very angry and jealous of our number 1 assassin, our Japanese actor, which I can't pronounce his name, but he's very, very good, and he's very professional. He's very kind of stone cold, very kind of assertive guy. He has 2 apartments, he has 2 cleaners, he has everything in a very specific structure. I would say this film is essentially, to best describe it, a more wackier, kind of more cartoonish, but still very serious in its tone a little bit, and very much a thriller. It's not like a straight up parody like some of the Stephen Chow movies. This is much more in the line of Assassins, if anyone remembers that film, Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas. Now I'm going to take that film and then add a bit of Johnnie To kind of cartoonish, bonkers kind of attitude in terms of the cinematography, in terms of the music, in terms of just the pacing, how the film goes about. Let's take that film and let's just do complete anything wrong with it. And that's the best way I can describe it. It's very much kind of borderline guilty pleasure in a weird way. I had a real blast with this film, and I don't think this film is going to work for everyone. Now, in terms of the storyline, in terms of where it goes, as I mentioned, it's about 2 killers going back and forth with each other. And Andy's character is extremely jealous. He wants to be number 1 assassin within Hong Kong and the world international. We have Simon Yep in the film, of course. He's our kind of international agent who's trying to track down these 2 killers, and both of them fall in love with this woman. Funny enough, the woman in the film is also Katie Lee, who is also in the recent film I reviewed, Sparrow, which I thought she was very, very good in this one, and she actually gets a lot more to do in this one. I won't reveal too much, but she is very, very good, and she definitely holds her own. The story gets very convoluted, it gets very complicated. Tonally, it's very kind of inconsistent in places. It's 1 minute it's very kind of serious, kind of thriller. It's very dark in some places. Some of the violence and some of the kind of the kills that happen is very kind of straight to the point. It's very cold. It's very kind of brutal. There's like eye gouging. There's people getting shot in the neck. There's some pretty, you know, wow, this film went from a comedy to this, but it's not done in like on a, trying to, again, best way to describe it, not done in a kind of like, you know, a whiplash type of way, but more, it just feel kind of organic. It just feel like appropriate. It just feel like, yes, we've had a more over the top action set moment, and now we're having a more of a serious scene. So it feels natural to the scene. It's not like we're going from like a comedy to, you know, a very serious kind of, you know, stabbing in the face kind of thing, or sort of kind of bludgeoning or anything. It feels, the tonal shifts and changes in the film do feel appropriate to what the film's going to go for up to that point in terms of the structure, in terms of the storyline. And the film essentially is these central three characters and their kind of intertwinable kind of relationships with each other. There's twists and turns, there's reveals, there's kind of surprising kind of moments in the film. There's some stuff I wasn't really expecting. It's kind of bonkers. Some of the kind of reveals are. It does make sense within the story and what's been set up, but the way that's kind of presented in the film, it's kind of hilarious. The amount of times I was laughing at some of the kind of Andy Lau's kind of jokes or his kind of attitude kind of thing and what he's doing, it's really kind of, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of fun nature towards the film, and that's what I want. That's what I want to see. You know, if a film can be a little bit less, but can still offer me like really good time, brilliant cinematography, brilliant camera work, it definitely having, you know, doing these really kind of crazy kind of, you know, wire work and crazy kind of like, you know, cinematography. There's a brilliant sequence on the kind of the flat apartment buildings where like kind of the SWAT team are going in, and you know, one of our main assassin characters has to escape. Brilliant how that's set up and how it leads to the next scene, to the next bit, and mixed between kind of jumping off buildings and gunplay and kind of, you know, building up that tension. You got Sam and Yep kind of hot on their trail. It's just a lot of love letters, kind of action movies and just cinema and TV shows. The fact there is multiple references to Twin Peaks in the film, which is a big applause for me because I'm a huge David Lynch and Twin Peaks fan. So the fact that they kind of highlight that quite a few times, and there's even a kind of an inspired kind of like kill that does happen from sort of Twin Peaks in a weird way, which is kind of weird and kind of wacky. There's definitely a lot of love there to a lot of action films of the time, of the kind of the late kind of 2000s into the 90s. Was the relationship or love angle where, you know, Kaylee's character is torn between these two men and she's sort of falling for both of them. She's sort of, you know, Andy Lau's character keeps on saying in film, do you want to be the killer's, do you want to be a killer's woman kind of thing? Do you want to be my partner in crime kind of thing? And, you know, he's probably testing her and kind of showing her some weaponry, and the fact that she's kind of on board with it, it's kind of funny. It's kind of like a little bit like kind of Hitman's Bodyguard, a little bit kind of attitude, where she's just kind of, she's fully aware of who these two characters are and what they do, but she's infatuated with them. She kind of, so overall, Full-Time Killer is an absolute blast to watch. It's really bonkers. It's just a lot of fun. It's definitely borderline between meta and kind of parody. Definitely a guilty pleasure, I would say. Great performances by all the cast. The intertwinable kind of characters that were introduced is great. There's the action scenarios that were presented. Very stylistic. The structure of the film is, again, very kind of back and forth between, you know, kind of serious and kind of cartoonish, and very kind of dark in places. It's not a traditional type of structure type based movie. It gets very meta towards the kind of third act. But I enjoyed it. It's a really fun ride. I think it's a really fun film to watch on a Saturday and a weekend, and I definitely would hope this film gets a really good Blu-ray edition release down the line for sure. So what are your thoughts and opinions on Full-Time Killer? Let us know your thoughts and opinions, guys. Please comment down below. So in the meantime, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.